Severely wounded soldiers fighting to survive. It's up to elite Air Force medical teams to bring them home.
These doctors, nurses, and respiratory therapists were all trained at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center.
For this Insider Special Report, WCPO.com reporter Taylor Mirfendereski takes us from the Cincinnati classroom to Afghanistan on a critical mission to save a man's life.
All right, clear for takeoff. Line of checks called complete. Everything looks good. Here we go, group.
We get the page. We carry our pagers with us at all times.
A 4 a.m. wake-up call in Afghanistan.
And a saturation on this.
It's stuff you can't unsee.
These three are on a mission.
Flag Spider 5-1 Bagram tower. Disregard. Disregard.
To take the most gravely wounded soldiers out of war.
They have a family somewhere out there that's worried about them.
Over the gate.
It'll help their recovery.
Power set.
It'll motivate them to stay strong.
Clouds controls. Door controls.
It could be an American, one of the 20,000 who've been hurt fighting in our longest war.
I'll remember those names forever. You know, I'll remember looking into their eyes forever.
We know the patient this time has a bad infection from a gunshot wound. If the infection gets worse, he could die.
Bagram tower, Whirler 2-2.
But what we don't know is if he's too bad to move, and if he'll be able to breathe 25,000 feet in the air.
If that's the case, then we won't be able to fly with him at all.
Check, Spike Spider 5-1.
You don't know if he's stable, you don't know if he's unstable. Things can go south real fast.
This isn't just a story about the wounded.
Airborne, climbing away. Gear up. Gear's coming up.
It's a story about the elite medical team who helps them take their first, most critical step back home.
Contact departure. Have a good flight.
That mission in Afghanistan all started on U.S. soil here, inside University of Cincinnati Medical Center, this Level 1 trauma center, where Cincinnati's wounded need the highest level of care, is transformed into a war zone.
Hold on, Johnny. Doc's here, okay?
It's the Center for Sustainment of Trauma and Readiness Skills, or more often called C-STARS, an entire floor of people training Air Force members to move soldiers fighting to survive more than 7,000 miles away.
It's just a 3-person team, and you could be flying, up to 6 pretty complex patients.
They're called CCATT teams.
We're going to be moving right here.
And they've moved more than 6,800 patients since 9/11. Sometimes the flights are more than 12 hours long. Soldiers are coming home just 48 hours after they were hurt.
You have no backup. When you're in the back of that aircraft, you're it. So any problem that comes up, you're the patient's only chance.
Hey, you got no pulse. I want you to start.
Every doctor, nurse, and respiratory therapist on board since 2003 has all started right here in this room.
I'm fresh out of training, so I've been in school for a long time.
This is the first time new physician Sabrina Akhtar met respiratory therapist Vinny Babauta. And what these strangers don't know now is they'll soon work side by side, saving the casualties of war.
The buck stops with you. Ultimately, when we're making a decision in flight and the nurse turns to me and says, do you want to do this? And I have to say yes or no, and there's no one else to look at behind me to say, is that the right answer?
Vinny's a first-timer in this course, too.
So we're kind of just going off of what they're telling us. Like, when you deploy, you'll see this, you'll encounter that.
And the month before they met, their third teammate, Nurse Sarah Batzer, went through the same thing.
I wasn't sure I was going to pass. It was nerve-wracking. It really was.
She passed. Sabrina and Vinny did, too. And the fake patients in Cincinnati were soon replaced by victims of real-life war.
There's just some stuff that, I'll never be able to get visuals out of my head.
I didn't know what the conditions were going to be like here in Bagram. I was thinking we were going to be in tents and using latrines outside.
7,047 miles from where their training started. The new team assembles at Bagram Airfield in Afghanistan. It's just about a 50-minute drive from Kabul in the country's Parwan province. Resources once available here in this nearly $558 billion war have dwindled, and almost 84,000 U.S. troops are now gone. But at a time when the U.S. is winding down its military presence here, the country's largest U.S. base still bustles with action.
A lot of people back home don't realize that people are still getting injured. It doesn't make the news anymore. A lot of people don't think we're at war anymore.
But in their first months here, Sarah, Sabrina, and Vinny saw the dreadful part of the conflict for themselves.
We're not out there fighting. We don't get to experience the, bullets flying over our head, but like it is happening. We're in the middle of war.
You've seen how Cincinnati plays a pivotal part in training elite medical teams tasked with caring for people who are critically injured.
Right after the break, life in a war zone becomes very real. We're going to take you on a mission to save one man's life. You're watching Mission Critical, a WCPO.com Insider Special.